Hey there, everyone! Welcome back to my channel where we dive deep into the world of movies that pack a punch, make you laugh, and leave you buzzing with excitement. Today, I'm super pumped to talk about a film that's all about shrinking down to epic proportions while delivering massive thrills, Ant-Man and the Wasp from 2018. If you haven't seen this one yet, trust me, you're missing out on one of the most fun, heartfelt, and action-packed entries in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm here as your guide, your storyteller, to walk you through every little detail about this movie, from its origins to its cast, crew, production secrets, and why it's absolutely worth your time. Think of this as your ultimate invitation to grab some popcorn, settle in, and let me convince you why this film deserves a spot on your watch list. And hey, if you're already a fan, stick around because we're going to unpack so much cool stuff that might just make you appreciate it even more. Let's start by setting the stage. Ant-Man and the Wasp is the sequel to the 2015 hit Ant-Man, and it's the 20th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, landing right in the heart of Phase 3. Released on July 6, 2018 in the United States, this movie runs for about 118 minutes, which is roughly 2 hours of non-stop entertainment. It's rated PG-13 for some sci-fi action violence, so it's family-friendly, but with enough edge to keep adults hooked. Produced by Marvel Studios and distributed by Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures, this flick had a budget estimated between $162 million and $195 million. Yeah, that's a hefty investment. But boy, does it pay off in terms of spectacle and storytelling. It grossed over $622 million worldwide, proving that audiences loved its blend of humor, heart, and high-stakes adventure. Now, why should you watch it? Because in a universe full of gods, aliens, and world-ending threats, this movie reminds us that heroes come in all sizes, and sometimes the smallest ones pack the biggest personality. Directed by Peyton Reed, who also helmed the first Ant-Man, this film has that perfect mix of wit and wonder that Reed brings to the table. He's a director known for his comedic timing. Think of his work on films like Bring It On or Yes Man. And he infuses Ant-Man and the Wasp with a lighthearted vibe that's refreshing amid the heavier MCU entries. Reed collaborated closely with the writers to craft a script that's clever and character-driven. Speaking of the writers, the screenplay was penned by a talented team, Chris McKenna and Eric Summers, who you might know from Spider-Man: Homecoming, along with Paul Rudd himself, who stars in the film, Andrew Barrer, and Gabriel Ferrari. They built on the foundation laid by the first movie, expanding the world in ways that feel organic and exciting. The story credits go to a group including Stan Lee, Larry Lieber, and Jack Kirby, the legendary comic book creators who originally dreamed up Ant-Man back in the 1960s for Marvel Comics. This film draws inspiration from those classic tales, bringing quantum realms and size-shifting antics to life on the big screen. At the center of it all is Paul Rudd as Scott Lang, the charming everyman who becomes Ant-Man. Rudd's portrayal is what makes this character so relatable. He's funny, a bit awkward, and deeply caring, especially as a dad trying to do right by his family. Pairing him up with Evangeline Lilly as Hope Van Dyne, who steps into the spotlight as the Wasp, is pure genius. Lilly brings a fierce, no-nonsense energy to Hope. She's smart, skilled, and ready to kick butt in her high-tech suit. Their chemistry is electric, turning what could be just another superhero team-up into a dynamic partnership that's equal parts banter and bravery. Then there's Michael Douglas reprising his role as Hank Pym, the brilliant scientist and original Ant-Man. Douglas adds gravitas and a touch of grumpiness that's endearing, making Hank the mentor figure who's equal parts genius and grouch. The supporting cast is stacked with talent that elevates every scene. Michael Peña returns as Luis, Scott's hilarious best friend and business partner. Peña's rapid-fire storytelling style is comedy gold. His monologues alone are worth the price of admission. Walton Goggins plays Sonny Birch, a shady black market dealer with that smarmy charm Goggins does so well. He's the kind of antagonist who's fun to watch scheming. Bobby Cannavale is back as Paxton, Scott's ex-wife's husband, bringing warmth and humor to the blended family dynamics. Judy Greer portrays Maggie, Scott's ex-wife, with a grounded, supportive vibe that keeps the family elements feeling real. Tip T.I. Harris as Dave and David Dastmalchian as Kurt round out the ex-con crew from ex-con security consultants. These guys are the comic relief squad, delivering laughs through their quirky personalities and loyalty to Scott. New faces bring fresh energy too. Hannah John Kamen stars as Ghost, a mysterious figure with phasing abilities that make her a formidable presence. John Kamen captures the complexity of the character, blending vulnerability with intensity. Abby Ryder Fortson is adorable as Cassie Lang, Scott's daughter, stealing hearts with her wide-eyed innocence and unwavering belief in her dad. Randall Park appears as Jimmy Woo, the FBI agent keeping tabs on Scott. Park's comedic timing shines, especially in his awkward interactions. And let's not forget the heavy hitters. Michelle Pfeiffer as Janet Van Dyne, Hope's mother, and the original Wasp, bringing elegance and strength to the role. Laurence Fishburne plays Bill Foster, a former colleague of Hank's with his own supersized history as Goliath in the comics. Fishburne's commanding presence adds depth to the scientific side of the story. What makes Ant-Man and the Wasp stand out is how it balances high-octane action with genuine emotional beats. Without giving anything away, the plot follows Scott as he navigates life after the events of Captain America, Civil War, dealing with house arrest, and trying to be a better father. When Hank and Hope pull him into an urgent mission involving quantum technology and lost loved ones, things get wildly inventive. The film explores themes of family, redemption, and partnership in ways that feel personal and poignant. It's not just about punching bad guys, it's about characters growing, learning, and supporting each other. The humor is spot on. Think clever one-liners, visual gags with size changes, and those hilarious Luis recaps that had everyone cracking up in the first film. Behind the camera, the production team poured their hearts into making this world feel alive. Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel Studios, served as the lead producer, overseeing the vision to ensure it fits seamlessly into the larger MCU tapestry. Stephen Broussard was the executive producer, helping to shape the film's unique tone. The cinematography by Dante Spinotti captures the macro and micro worlds beautifully. Imagine sweeping shots of everyday objects turned into massive landscapes, all with vibrant colors and dynamic angles. Editors Dan Liebenthal and Craig Wood keep the pace snappy, blending action sequences with quieter moments without ever feeling rushed. The score by Christoph Beck is another highlight. Beck, who composed for the first Ant-Man and films like Frozen, crafts a soundtrack that's playful and adventurous, with themes that swell during epic moments and lighten up for the comedic bits. The music incorporates electronic elements to match the high-tech suits and quantum weirdness, making every scene more immersive. Visual effects are handled by a powerhouse team, including Industrial Light and Magic, DNEG, Method Studios, and more. These folks created stunning sequences where characters shrink to ant size or grow to giant proportions, all while interacting with the real world in believable ways. The de-aging technology used on some characters is top-notch, a Marvel staple that adds to the film's polish. Production kicked off in August 2017 at Pinewood Atlanta Studios in Georgia, with additional filming in San Francisco to capture those iconic cityscapes that play into the story's setting. The team wrapped principal photography by November 2017, then dove into post-production. Fun fact, the movie was originally titled Ant-Man and the Wasp, but there were rumors it might change. Well, thankfully, it stuck, emphasizing the equal billing for both heroes. This was a big deal because it marked the first time a female hero got title billing in an MCU film, highlighting Hope's importance right from the get-go. The suits themselves are a marvel of design. Ant-Man's updated outfit has a sleeker look with red and silver accents, while the Wasp's suit is a stunning yellow and black ensemble with retractable wings and blasters. Designed by Louise Frogley, the costume supervisor, these suits aren't just cool, they're functional, allowing for all sorts of creative fight choreography. Stunt coordinator George Cottle and his team pulled off incredible practical effects mixed with CGI, like car chases that involve shrinking vehicles and giant Pez dispensers. Okay, not spoiling, but trust me, the action is inventive and hilarious. On the marketing side, Marvel went all out. The first trailer dropped in January 2018, teasing the team-up and quantum elements, generating massive buzz. They released posters featuring Ant-Man and the Wasp in dynamic poses, and even had fun with size themes in ads, like billboards where the heroes appeared tiny next to giant text. The film premiered at the El Capitan Theater in Hollywood on June 25, 2018, with stars walking the red carpet in style. It opened in theaters worldwide, with special IMAX screenings that made the size-shifting scenes even more mind-blowing. Critically, Ant-Man and the Wasp was a hit. It holds an 87% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, with audiences praising its humor, visuals, and character focus. Reviewers called it a breath of fresh air after the intensity of Avengers: Infinity War, which came out just months before. It earned nominations for things like Best Visual Effects at the Saturn Awards and even won some Teen Choice Awards for its stars. The film's success led to sequels and spin-offs, cementing Ant-Man as a beloved corner of the MCU. But let's talk about why you, yes you, should drop everything and watch this movie. In a sea of superhero films that can sometimes feel overwhelming with cosmic stakes, Ant-Man and the Wasp keeps things grounded, literally, with its San Francisco backdrop and family-centric story. It's the perfect palate cleanser, full of laughs that come from relatable situations amplified by superpowers. Imagine the joy of seeing everyday objects turned into weapons or vehicles in the most creative ways. It's like a playground for the imagination. Paul Rudd's charm is infectious. He makes Scott feel like your buddy next door who just happens to shrink. Evangeline Lilly's Wasp is empowering, showing that heroines can be leaders without sacrificing depth. And the ensemble cast? They bounce off each other like pros, creating moments that are genuinely funny and touching. This movie excels at blending genres. It's a heist film, a comedy, a sci-fi adventure, and a family drama all rolled into one. The quantum realm introduces mind-bending concepts without getting too bogged down in exposition. It's accessible, even if you're not a hardcore Marvel fan. If you've seen the first Ant-Man, this builds on it beautifully, expanding the lore while standing on its own. For newcomers, it's an easy entry point into the MCU because it doesn't require watching everything else first, though it ties in nicely if you have. The themes resonate too: forgiveness, second chances, and the importance of teamwork. Scott's journey as a father tugs at the heartstrings, reminding us that being a hero isn't just about saving the world. It's about showing up for the people you love. Hank and Hope's relationship adds layers of generational conflict and reconciliation, making the story feel universal. Plus, the film's commitment to diversity shines through with strong female characters and a diverse supporting cast that reflects real life. Technically, it's a feast for the eyes. The sound design by Addison Teague and his team makes every punch, shrink, and grow feel impactful. Those whooshing sounds when they change size are iconic. The production design by Shepard Frankel transforms ordinary locations into extraordinary battlegrounds, like kitchens becoming war zones or labs hiding quantum secrets. If you're into behind-the-scenes trivia, here's some more. Paul Rudd actually contributed to the script, drawing from his improv background to add those witty lines. Evangeline Lilly trained extensively in martial arts for her fight scenes, making the Wasp's moves look effortless and badass. Michael Douglas, at 73 during filming, embraced the physical demands, even doing some stunts himself. The film shot in Hawaii for some sequences, adding tropical flair to certain parts. And the end credit scenes? They're classic Marvel, setting up future adventures without overshadowing the main story. Ant-Man and the Wasp also pays homage to its comic roots. Characters like Ghost draw from Iron Man comics, but get a fresh twist here. Bill Foster's Goliath persona nods to Avengers history, and Janet Van Dyne's legacy as a founding Avenger is honored beautifully. It's a love letter to fans while welcoming new ones. In terms of cultural impact, this movie boosted interest in quantum physics. Kids and adults alike started Googling terms like quantum entanglement after watching. It also highlighted practical effects. Director Peyton Reed insisted on building giant props for authenticity, like oversized everyday items that actors could interact with. The home release came packed with extras, deleted scenes, gag reels, and featurettes on the VFX, and stunts. If you're watching on Blu-ray or streaming, dive into those for even more fun. Speaking of streaming, it's available on platforms like Disney+, making it easy to access anytime. So, why watch Ant-Man and the Wasp? Because it's pure escapism with heart. In a world that can feel chaotic, this film offers laughs, inspiration, and a reminder that even the tiniest hero can make a huge difference. Whether you're in it for the action, the comedy, or the emotional core, it delivers on all fronts. It's the kind of movie that leaves you smiling, eager for more, and maybe even wishing you had a shrinking suit of your own. If you're a Marvel completist, it bridges key events in the universe, adding puzzle pieces that enhance the bigger picture. For casual viewers, it's standalone fun that doesn't demand homework. Families will love the kid-friendly vibes, with Cassie providing that youthful wonder. Action fans get innovative fights, comedy lovers get belly laughs, and everyone gets a story about growth, pun intended. Peyton Reed's direction ensures every frame pops with energy. The budget's investment shows in the seamless effects, from ant armies to phasing through walls. The writers nailed the balance, making sure character arcs feel earned. I gave you the big picture rundown, the cast highlights, the director's vision, and why this film is such a refreshing blast of fun in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But trust me, there's so much more to love about this movie that I couldn't fit it all in one go. So let's keep the energy going. I'm your enthusiastic narrator, walking you through every juicy detail, behind-the-scenes secret, production nugget, and reason why you need to hit play on this gem right now. No spoilers, just pure excitement to get you hyped and informed for your next watch or rewatch. Grab your favorite snack, because we're making this one long, detailed, and packed with everything you need for the ultimate review or info video, aiming for that full 25-minute vibe when you read it aloud at a natural pace. Picking up right where we left off, let's talk more about what makes the production of Ant-Man and the Wasp so impressive. This wasn't just a quick sequel. It was carefully crafted to stand on its own while expanding the tiny but mighty world Marvel built in the first film. Principal photography kicked off on August 1, 2017, under the secretive working title Cherry Blue, classic Marvel movie to keep things under wraps. The main hub was Pinewood Atlanta Studios in Fayette County, Georgia, where they built massive sets, including one of the largest ever for an MCU film, the PIM Lab, and that incredible quantum tunnel setup, inspired by old-school sci-fi like the Time Tunnel. They shot there for months, capturing everything from intimate family moments to wild action sequences. But they didn't stop in Georgia. The team headed to the real-world locations that give the movie its authentic San Francisco flavor. Because, let's be real, those hilly streets and iconic spots are perfect for a story about shrinking cars and dodging traffic in epic ways. Filming happened on Lombard Street for that legendary chase, Pier 39 and Fisherman's Wharf for some waterfront action, and even spots like Haight-Ashbury for the Pym family home vibes. They ventured to Oakland for the initial lab exteriors, Savannah in Georgia for additional scenes, and even Hawaii for some tropical touches that add a layer of beauty to the visuals. Principal photography wrapped on November 19, 2017, just a tight schedule that shows how efficient Peyton Reed and his crew were. Cinematographer Dante Spinotti used Arri Alexa 65 cameras for those crisp, vibrant images, and they even employed special Fraser lenses for the macro shots where everyday objects become towering landscapes. It's the kind of technical wizardry that makes you go, how did they do that? Now the visual effects? Oh man, this is where the budget really shines. With an estimated production cost ranging from about $130 million up to $195 million, most reliable sources settle around $162 million, a huge chunk went to VFX houses like D&Egg, who handled over 500 shots, including Ghost's phasing effects and those insane chase environments. Scanline VFX for Quantum Realm Madness, Method Studios for digital doubles and environments, Luma Pictures for infiltration sequences, and Lola VFX for the stunning de-aging work on Michelle Pfeiffer, Michael Douglas, and Laurence Fishburne. They referenced classic films like Wall Street and Ladyhawke to make those younger versions look seamless. Industrial Light and Magic, Cinesight, and others chipped in too. It's a who's who of VFX talent. The practical side was huge as well. They built giant props for actors to interact with, like oversized furniture and vehicles, so the size shifting feels grounded and real. Stunt coordinator George Cottle and his team mixed practical stunts with CGI for fights that are creative, funny, and jaw-dropping. Think shrinking into a suitcase or growing to giant size in the middle of chaos. The costumes deserve their own spotlight. Louise Frogley, the costume designer, updated Ant-Man's suit to be sleeker with better red and silver details, while the Wasp suit is a masterpiece. Yellow and black, with retractable wings that were partially practical but enhanced digitally for flight. Evangeline Lilly trained hard in martial arts and wirework to make Hope's moves graceful yet powerful, emphasizing that she's not just a sidekick, she's a full co-lead. Paul Rudd even learned close-up magic for some scenes, practicing tricks that added to Scott's quirky charm, though he admitted it was tough to master quickly. And the de-aging tech? Top-tier Marvel magic, making Pfeiffer look decades younger as Janet Van Dyne without losing her elegance. Christophe Beck's score is the perfect companion, playful, adventurous, with a recurring Ant-Man theme from the first film, and a brand new high-energy Wasp motif that swells during action and softens for emotional beats. Electronic elements tie into the high-tech quantum stuff, and the soundtrack album dropped digitally on July 6, 2018, right with the theatrical release. It's one of those scores that sticks with you long after the credits roll. Marketing was massive and clever. Marvel dropped concept art and pre-CGI footage at San Diego Comic-Con in 2017, building hype. The first trailer hit on January 30, 2018, during Good Morning America, riffing on Adam and the Ants' ant music for that fun Easter egg. A second trailer in May amped up the action, and they tied in promotions with Hyundai, featuring the Veloster, Dell, Sprint, and more. The worldwide marketing budget was around $154 million, but it paid off. The world premiere was June 25, 2018, at the El Capitan Theater in Hollywood, with the full release on July 6 in over 4,200 theaters across the U.S., including thousands in 3D, hundreds in IMAX, and premium formats like D-Box and 4DX. In the UK, it shifted from June 29 to August 3 to avoid clashing with the FIFA World Cup. Fans even petitioned to move it earlier. Box office-wise, it was a solid win. Opening weekend in the US and Canada, $75.8 million, with $33.8 million on Friday, including previews, up 33% from the first film's debut. Worldwide opening, around $161 to $185 million. It ended with $216.6 million domestic and $406 million international, totaling $622.7 million worldwide, making it the 11th highest-grossing film of 2018. Strong in markets like China, $68 million opening, and South Korea. With the budget covered and then some, estimates put net profit around $100 million. Not bad for a smaller MCU entry. Critics loved it. 87% on Rotten Tomatoes from over 440 reviews, with an average 7 out of 10. The consensus? A lighter, fun MCU palate cleanser after the heavy Infinity War. Metacritic, 70 out of 100. Audiences gave it an A- on CinemaScore. Reviewers raved about the Rudd-Lilly chemistry, the humor, inventive action, and how it balances heart with laughs. It earned nominations like Outstanding Stunt Ensemble at the SAG Awards, Best Action Film at St. Louis Film Critics, and several for VFX at the Visual Effects Society. Even Golden Trailer Awards nods for its home entertainment spots. The home media release is loaded. Digital October 2, 2018. Blu-ray DVD 4K UHD on October 16th. Bonus features include deleted scenes, like Worlds Upon Worlds and others with Peyton Reed commentary, gag reels, hilarious outtakes with the cast, plus special ones with Stan Lee and Tim Heidecker, featurettes on the Wasp's return, behind the scenes with the creative team, VFX breakdowns, and more. It's all there to geek out over. Perfect for fans wanting to see how the sausage is made. Behind-the-scenes trivia? Peyton Reed emphasized making this a true duo film, not Ant-Man with a side wasp, Hope is Equal, and Lilly pushed for that. Paul Rudd co-wrote the script, bringing his improv magic. Evangeline Lilly had Pfeiffer on her wish list for Janet. The film drew inspiration from heist movies like After Hours and Midnight Run, plus What's Up, Doc? For the comedic chaos. Quantum physicist Spiridon Mikalakis consulted to keep the science plausible. Stan Lee's cameo as the guy whose car gets shrunk is classic. His outtakes are gold on the Blu-ray. Deleted scenes included more flashbacks and fun bits that didn't make the final cut to keep the runtime at 118 minutes. This movie came at the perfect time. Right after Infinity War's intensity, it was the breath of fresh air everyone needed. It's a family story at its core. Scott as a dad under house arrest, trying to balance hero life with being there for Cassie. Hank and Hope's emotional quest for Janet. The blended family dynamics with Maggie and Paxton. It's about second chances, partnership, and how even in a universe of big threats, small personal stakes can feel massive. The action is so inventive. Size-changing battles, phasing through objects, ant armies, and those car chases that play with perspective in ways no other superhero film does. The humor lands because it's character-driven. Luis's fast-talking stories, Scott's awkward dad moments, Hank's grumpy genius. And the quantum realm? mind-bending visuals that open doors to bigger MCU ideas without overwhelming you. If you're making a video, highlight how this film proves Marvel can do lighthearted, character-focused stories that still tie into the bigger picture. It's empowering for female characters. Hope as co-lead was groundbreaking. It's rewatchable, family-friendly, PG-13 with fun violence, and full of heart. Hey there, folks! If you've been loving this deep dive into Ant-Man and the Wasp 2018, we're not done yet. There's still so much awesome stuff to unpack that makes this movie a total standout in the Marvel lineup. I'm your hype narrator, here to keep the energy high, share every fascinating detail, and convince you or remind you why this film is pure joy from start to finish. Whether you're prepping your review video script or just geeking out, stick with me as we explore more production secrets, VFX magic, deleted scenes insights, awards buzz, and those little gems that make rewatches even better. No spoilers, just excitement and facts to make your viewing experience epic. Let's zoom in on the visual effects because this is where Ant-Man and the Wasp really flexes its creative muscles. The shrinking and growing sequences aren't just cool, they're a masterclass in blending practical and digital wizardry. Peyton Reed and the VFX team pushed for photorealism, building on the first film's foundation but cranking it up with more dynamic environments and complex interactions. Companies like DNAG handled over 500 shots, including Ghost's eerie phasing abilities, the massive third-act chase through San Francisco, where they recreated 130 unique environments using LiDAR surveys for accuracy, and those mind-bending quantum realm moments. They mixed real macro photography with CG simulations to make everything feel tangible. Like when characters shrink, the world around them it becomes hyper-detailed, with textures popping in ways that feel almost too real. Method Studios brought the quantum realm to life with inspirations from macro shots of everyday objects and glitchy effects, plus the quantum tunnel and digital doubles for Ant-Man and Wasp. Luma Pictures recreated Ghost's hideout in full CGI and handled flashback missile sequences that tie back to the original film. Lola VFX nailed the de-aging tech for Michelle Pfeiffer as young Janet Van Dyne, referencing Ladyhawke for her look, Laurence Fishburne as young Bill Foster, with his son Langston Fishburne standing in as a double, pulling from Boys in the Hood, and Michael Douglas as young Hank Pym. The practical side was huge too. Giant props built for actors to interact with, forced perspective tricks for size changes, and motion capture to keep movements authentic. It's this hybrid approach that makes the action feel grounded and inventive, whether it's dodging traffic in a tiny car or battling on a giant scale. Now, a fun peek behind the curtain. Some scenes got cut during editing to keep the pacing tight and the runtime under 2 hours. Smart move after the epic length of Avengers: Infinity War. Director Peyton Reed mentioned in interviews that there were more flashback sequences planned, especially deeper dives into the 1980s with young Hank and Janet, but they felt the present-day story needed the focus instead. Some quantum realm moments and extra Walton Goggins bits ended up on the cutting room floor too, though many landed on the home release. The Blu-ray and digital extras are packed with these deleted scenes, including alternate openings, more Janet in the quantum realm, and hilarious outtakes. There's even a gag reel featuring the whole cast cracking up, plus a faux commercial for an online close-up magic university that ties into Scott's house arrest hobby. And don't miss the featurettes on the Wasp's return, concept art's role in the MCU, and breakdowns of how the VFX brought the size shifting to life. Perfect for any fan wanting to see the magic up close. On the awards front, Ant-Man and the Wasp got some well-deserved love. It snagged 2 wins and over 20 nominations across various ceremonies. Highlights include nods at the Teen Choice Awards for Choice Sci-Fi/Fantasy Movie and Choice Sci-Fi/Fantasy Movie Actor, Paul Rudd, Taurus World Stunt Awards for Outstanding Stunt Ensemble, California On Location Awards, and Visual Effects Society Awards for things like Outstanding Animated Character and Created Environment. The Golden Trailer Awards gave it recognition too, especially for those fun home entertainment spots. Critics praised the film's levity, with an 87% on Rotten Tomatoes, average 7 out of 10 from hundreds of reviews, calling it a lighter, brighter superhero movie powered by Rudd and Lilly's charisma, exactly the palate cleanser fans needed after the heavier MCU entries. Interviews with the cast and crew reveal so much heart behind the project. Paul Rudd talked about how fun it was co-writing and bringing his improv energy, emphasizing the partnership dynamic with Hope. Evangeline Lilly shared how honored she felt to be the first female character with title billing in an MCU film, pushing for equal screen time and badass moments. Peyton Reed highlighted making it a true duo story, drawing inspiration from heist comedies like After Hours and Midnight Run for the chaotic fun. Michael Douglas loved the family themes, and Michelle Pfeiffer brought elegance to Janet while embracing the quantum weirdness. Hannah John Kamen spoke about the vulnerability in Ghost, blending menace with depth. These chats show how collaborative and passionate everyone was. It's no wonder the chemistry feels so natural on screen. Marketing was clever and massive too. Trailers dropped with Easter eggs like the Adam and the Ants ant music riff. TV spots teased powers and family vibes, and they tied in with Hyundai for the Veloster that features in the film. The premiere at El Capitan on June 25, 2018 was star-studded, and the global push included special IMAX and 4DX screenings. Even with the UK delay to August 3rd to dodge the World Cup, it still crushed internationally, $406 million outside North America, with huge openings in China, $68 million, and South Korea. Legacy-wise, this movie proved Marvel could deliver smaller-scale, pun-intended stories that still feel huge, paving the way for more character-driven adventures. It boosted interest in quantum concepts, inspired kids with science, and showed that heroes thrive on teamwork and heart. The film's home media is a treasure trove, digital on October 2, 2018, and physical on October 16, with all those extras making it rewatch gold. Plus, it's streaming on Disney Plus with IMAX enhanced for that extra immersive punch. Hey there, everyone! We're still rolling with this ultimate celebration of Ant-Man and the Wasp, 2018, the movie that proves size really doesn't matter when it comes to delivering massive fun, heart, and creativity. If you've been following along, you know we've covered the cast, direction, production details, box office wins, and why this film's such a breath of fresh air in the MCU. But there's even more gold to mine, behind-the-scenes trivia that'll make you appreciate it on a whole new level, some incredible visual effects insights, deleted scene stories, and even a few visual treats to bring the excitement to life. Let's keep the momentum going. I'm your passionate narrator, walking you through it all so your review video script feels complete, engaging, and packed for that full 25-minute or longer runtime. First off, let's talk about some of the coolest behind-the-scenes trivia that shows how much love went into this project. Paul Rudd actually learned real close-up magic tricks for Scott Lang's house arrest scenes. He practiced sleight of hand to make those card tricks look effortless, though he admitted it was tough to master in a short time. Imagine the dedication. For the de-aging work, Laurence Fishburne's son, Langston Fishburne, stood in as the younger version of Bill Foster, Goliath, and then CGI overlaid Lawrence's face. Talk about family teamwork on screen and off. Peyton Reed had Michelle Pfeiffer in mind as Janet Van Dyne from the very beginning, even during the first film's development. She was his dream casting for that elegant, heroic presence. And speaking of casting history, this was the first MCU movie to give equal title billing to a female hero, with "and the Wasp" right there in the name. Evangeline Lilly has spoken proudly about how that felt like a milestone, pushing for Hope to be a true co-lead, not just support. The film draws from heist classics like After Hours and Midnight Run for its chaotic energy, and even quantum physicist Spirit and Michalakis consulted to keep the science feeling plausible and mind-bending. On the editing side, some scenes got trimmed to keep the pace lively. Peyton Reed cut an entire alternate opening set in the 1980s, showing Hank and Janet stopping a traitorous scientist, Elias Starr, Ghost's dad, from activating an illegal quantum tunnel in Buenos Aires. It was too much backstory and slowed things down. There were also more flashbacks to Janet in the quantum realm, extra Luis monologues, and deeper ghost moments that ended up in the deleted scenes on the home release. Paul Rudd has talked about how those cuts helped the story breathe, focusing on the present-day family drama and heist fun. The legacy of this film is huge, too. Coming right after Avengers, Infinity War's massive stakes, it offered a lighter, more personal story that audiences craved, earning an A Cinema score, strong for the MCU, and that 87% Rotten Tomatoes approval. It grossed $622.7 million worldwide on a $162 million budget, plus marketing, turning a solid profit around $100 million net. It ranked as the 11th highest-grossing film of 2018, proving even smaller MCU entries could dominate. More importantly, it expanded the quantum realm lore, inspired real interest in subatomic physics, and set up bigger MCU ideas while staying grounded in family, redemption, and partnership. This movie's impact shows Marvel's range. Not every film has to save the universe. Sometimes it's about saving your family, cracking jokes, and having a blast with size-shifting antics. The chemistry between Paul Rudd's charming Scott and Evangeline Lilly's fierce Hope feels genuine because they pushed for equal partnership. The humor from Michael Peña's Luis, the heart from Abby Ryder-Forteson's Cassie, and the gravitas from legends like Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer make every moment count. As we wind down this epic deep dive, though I could go on forever, remember, Ant-Man and the Wasp is the perfect mix of laughs, thrills, and emotion. It's inventive action, stunning visuals like those quantum realm wonders, heartfelt family themes, and just pure entertainment. Directed by Peyton Reed with a dream team behind and in front of the camera, it's a Marvel gem that rewards every rewatch. We're still deep in the world of Ant-Man and the Wasp, 2018, and honestly, I could talk about this movie for hours because it just keeps giving. We've covered the cast chemistry, the incredible production details, the VFX wizardry, the box office success, the critical love, and all those little behind-the-scenes moments that make it feel so special. But there's still more to love. Let's keep unpacking why this film is such a perfect feel-good superhero adventure that deserves your time every single rewatch. One of the biggest strengths of Ant-Man and the Wasp is how it handles tone. After the emotional gut punch of Avengers, Infinity War earlier that year, audiences were craving something lighter, something that reminded them superhero movies could be joyful and fun without sacrificing stakes. Peyton Reed and the writers nailed that balance perfectly. The film never feels like it's trying too hard to be epic or dark. It's confident in its own lane. Scott Lang is still the same lovable, slightly hapless guy trying to do right by his daughter while navigating the superhero life. Hope Van Dyne steps up as a full equal partner, bringing confidence, skill, and a bit of impatience that bounces off Scott's more laid-back style in the best way. Their dynamic isn't just romantic tension, though that's there and sweet. It's true teamwork, mutual respect, and shared purpose. That partnership feels earned, and it makes every scene they share more engaging. Then there's the family element, which is the real emotional core. Scott's relationship with his daughter Cassie is so heartfelt. Those quiet moments where he just wants to be a good dad despite house arrest and shrinking suits hit home. Abby Ryder-Fortson plays Cassie with such natural warmth and belief in her father that you can't help but root for them. The blended family dynamics with Maggie and Jim Paxton add layers of realism and humor without ever feeling forced. Hank Pym's gruff exterior hiding his deep love for his daughter and his longing for his wife Janet gives Michael Douglas room to show vulnerability beneath the genius inventor persona. And when Michelle Pfeiffer enters as Janet Van Dyne, she brings this calm, wise strength that ties everything together. It's rare for a superhero movie to make family feel this central without it coming across as cheesy. But here, it works beautifully because it's woven into the plot organically. The humor is another huge reason this movie stands out. It's not just random jokes, it's character-driven comedy. Luis's signature rapid-fire storytelling returns and is even better here. Michael Peña delivers those monologues with such infectious energy that you can't help but laugh out loud. The visual gags with size manipulation are endlessly creative. Think about how many different ways they find to use shrinking and growing for both action and comedy. The writers, including Paul Rudd's contributions, lean into the absurdity of the premise in the smartest ways, turning everyday objects into hilarious weapons or obstacles. Walton Goggins as Sonny Birch adds that slimy, fast-talking villain energy that's so fun to watch. Even the smaller roles, like T.I. and David Dastmalchian as the loyal ex-con crew, get moments that land perfectly. From a technical standpoint, the film holds up incredibly well. The action choreography is inventive because it has to be. When your heroes can change size at will, every fight has to feel fresh. The car chase through San Francisco is a standout sequence. Fast, chaotic, full of perspective shifts, and packed with visual invention. The quantum realm sequences are visually stunning, full of glowing particles, floating structures, and surreal beauty that make you feel like you're exploring something truly unknown. Christophe Beck's score supports it all beautifully. Playful when it needs to be, emotional when the story calls for it, and always driving the energy forward. Another thing that makes this movie rewatchable is how it rewards attention to detail. There are little callbacks to the first film, subtle nods to the larger MCU without overloading you, and plenty of small character moments that deepen on repeat viewings. The pacing is tight. 118 minutes flies by because every scene either advances the plot, builds character, or delivers a laugh. No filler, just pure entertainment. Culturally, Ant-Man and the Wasp also marked a quiet but important step forward. Giving Hope the co-title billing was a deliberate choice to highlight female heroes in a genre that often sidelines them. Evangeline Lilly's performance, strong, funny, capable, helped pave the way for more balanced representation in superhero stories. The film also sparked curiosity about quantum physics in a fun, accessible way. Plenty of kids and adults started asking questions about subatomic particles after watching those sequences. If you're introducing someone new to the MCU, this is one of the best entry points. You don't need to have seen every previous film to enjoy it. The story stands on its own while still connecting to the bigger picture. It's family-friendly enough for younger viewers, with just the right amount of PG-13 action, but clever and layered enough for adults to appreciate the writing and performances. So, why should you watch Ant-Man and the Wasp right now? Because it's the superhero movie that reminds you the genre can be light, clever, emotional, and wildly entertaining all at once. It's the one you put on when you need a mood boost, when you want laughs that come from the heart, when you want to see heroes who feel like real people with real relationships. Paul Rudd's charm, Evangeline Lilly's strength, the inventive action, the family focus, the humor that never punches down. It's all here in a perfectly packaged 2-hour escape. Peyton Reed took the tiny premise of the first film and expanded it into something bigger without losing what made it special. The cast clearly had fun making it, and that joy is contagious on screen. The effects still look fantastic, the story still resonates, and the message about second chances, teamwork, and showing up for the people you love never gets old. So do yourself a favor, cue it up, dim the lights, and let this little big adventure take you away. It's the kind of movie that leaves you smiling, maybe even a little inspired, and definitely ready to believe that even the smallest heroes can make the biggest difference. We're wrapping up this epic, no-holds-barred celebration of Ant-Man and the Wasp, 2018, the Marvel movie that shrinks the drama down to personal stakes while blowing up the fun to giant proportions. If you've stuck with me through all the previous parts, you already know the cast shines, the effects are mind-blowing, the humor lands perfectly, and the family themes hit right in the feels. But let's finish strong with even more reasons this film is a timeless gem, plus some fresh trivia, insights into its world building, and why it still feels fresh and rewatchable years later. One of the coolest things about this movie is how it turns the superhero formula on its head by focusing on a contained story. Director Peyton Reed has said in interviews that he drew inspiration from classic heist films like Midnight Run and chaotic comedies like After Hours, creating a road trip vibe mixed with urgency. It's not about saving the entire world. It's about a desperate family mission to rescue a lost loved one, collecting gadgets, allies, and hope along the way. That smaller scale makes every obstacle feel personal and every victory satisfying. Reed emphasized building on the first film's heist template, but adding more antagonists, roadblocks, and romantic comedy beats, turning it into a true partnership adventure. Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly's chemistry carries so much of that. Rudd brings the awkward charm and heart, while Lilly delivers fierce determination and wit. In interviews, Lilly has shared how thrilled she was to be part of the first MCU film with a female hero in the title, calling it a true duo story, where hope is every bit as vital as Scott. Speaking of interviews, Peyton Reed has talked about wanting to open up San Francisco more than in the first film, using its iconic hills, streets, and landmarks to create a unique texture in the MCU. The city isn't just a backdrop, it's a playground for the size-shifting chaos, with chases that play with perspective in wildly inventive ways. The practical sets were huge too. They built massive, real environments like Hank Pym's lab, which shrinks in the story, so actors could interact with oversized props instead of relying solely on green screen. That grounded approach makes the fantastical elements feel believable and fun. Now let's talk about the quantum realm, the trippy, otherworldly dimension that steals the show. Without spoiling anything, it's described as a reality where time and space lose all meaning as you shrink beyond subatomic levels. Hank Pym calls it a place where concepts like distance and duration become irrelevant, turning it into a universe unto itself, full of surreal beauty, strange creatures, including real-life-inspired ones like tardigrades, those indestructible microscopic water bears that can survive extreme conditions, and infinite possibilities. The film introduces it in a visually stunning way, with glowing particles, floating landscapes, and a sense of endless wonder. Reed and the team wanted it to feel like a whole new world, not unlike Asgard or Wakanda, but microscopic and mysterious. It adds layers of sci-fi intrigue while keeping the focus on the characters' emotions and relationships. In behind-the-scenes chats, the VFX teams explained blending macro photography of real particles with CGI to create that hypnotic, dreamlike quality. It's one of those sequences that rewards big-screen viewing, or even just a cozy rewatch. Trivia lovers, here's more gold. Paul Rudd really did learn close-up magic tricks for Scott's house arrest scenes. He practiced sleight of hand to make it authentic, though he joked it was like trying to master the violin in a rush. Laurence Fishburne's son Langston stood in as the younger Bill Foster for de-aging shots, adding a cool family layer behind the camera. Stan Lee's cameo is a highlight. He's the guy whose car gets accidentally shrunk during a chase, and his delivery is pure Stan. The film even nods to real science with those tardigrades, showing how the MCU sometimes sneaks in educational fun. Some deleted scenes from the home release give extra flavor too. There are more glimpses into the quantum realm, including Janet exploring its vastness and hinting at whole worlds and civilizations down there, which builds that sense of a living, breathing subatomic universe. Other cuts include extra moments with Sonny Birch scheming and some deeper family beats that didn't make the final cut to keep the pacing snappy. Peyton Reed explained in interviews that while they filmed additional 1980s flashbacks, like more of young Hank and Janet in action, they prioritized the present-day story so it wouldn't feel bogged down. Those extras on the Blu-ray are worth hunting down. They add context without changing the core adventure. What makes this movie endure is its heart. It's a story about second chances, showing up for family, and finding joy in the chaos. Scott's dad's struggles feel real, Hope's growth is empowering, and the ensemble, from Luis's hilarious recaps to Hank's grumpy genius, creates warmth that lingers. The action is creative, shrinking into suitcases, growing to giant sizes, phasing through walls, but it's always in service of character and laughs. Christophe Beck's score swells at the right moments, mixing playful electronics with emotional themes that stick with you. In the end, Ant-Man and the Wasp is the superhero film that reminds us heroes don't need cosmic threats to be compelling. Sometimes the biggest battles are personal, and the smallest acts of love and loyalty pack the most punch. Paul Rudd's everyman charm, Evangeline Lilly's powerhouse performance, Peyton Reed's sharp direction, the inventive visuals, and that unbeatable mix of humor and heart make it a standout MCU entry that's perfect for any mood. Funny, uplifting, or just plain entertaining. So if you haven't revisited it lately, or if you're introducing it to someone new, do it now. Shrink your expectations of what a superhero movie can be, and let this one grow on you in the best way. It's the kind of film that leaves you smiling, buzzing with energy, and ready for more. We've been on this incredible journey through Ant-Man and the Wasp, 2018, unpacking everything from the cast's incredible chemistry to the mind-bending quantum realm, the inventive action, and all those heartwarming family moments that make this movie so special. If you're still here, you're clearly as passionate about this underrated MCU gem as I am. So let's close out this massive deep dive with some final thoughts, more fascinating trivia, and a heartfelt reminder of why this film deserves a permanent spot in your watch rotation. Even in 2026, it holds up as one of the most joyful, clever, and rewatchable entries in the entire franchise. Let's start with some extra trivia that really shows the care Marvel put into this one. During filming, the movie went by the secret working title Cherry Blue to keep spoilers at bay. Classic Marvel secrecy. Paul Rudd didn't just fake those close-up magic tricks during Scott's house arrest scenes, he actually learned real sleight of hand to make them look authentic. He later joked that mastering magic that quickly is like trying to learn the violin in a hurry. It's tough, but he pulled it off. And for the de-aging magic on Laurence Fishburne as young Bill Foster, his real-life son, Langston Fishburne, stood in as the body double before CGI did its thing. Talk about a cool family connection bridging generations. The quantum realm itself is packed with real science nods. Those alien-looking creatures you see as the heroes shrink down, they're tardigrades, those tiny, indestructible water bears that can survive extreme heat, cold, radiation, and even the vacuum of space for days. It's a fun, educational Easter egg that grounds the wild visuals in something biologists actually study. The realm is described as a place where time and space dissolve, with no normal laws of physics holding sway. Time becomes irrelevant, distance meaningless, and that's why Janet Van Dyne could survive and even thrive there for 30 years. Director Peyton Reed and the team wanted it to feel like an entirely new universe in the MCU, full of infinite possibilities, glowing particles, floating structures, and surreal beauty that makes you question reality itself. It's the kind of concept that sparks curiosity about real quantum physics without ever getting too lectury. The deleted scenes are a treasure trove too. The home release includes extras like more quantum realm exploration, Janet communicating with a massive, alien-like creature and hinting at whole worlds and civilizations down there, which adds even more depth to how vast and living that subatomic place really is. There were also cut flashbacks showing more of young Hank and Janet in action, including stopping a traitorous scientist, Ghost's dad, from activating an illegal quantum tunnel in Buenos Aires. Peyton Reed said they filmed these but ultimately cut them because they felt like too much backstory and slowed the film's momentum. He wanted the focus squarely on the present-day urgency and family drama. Other trims included extra Sonny Birch scheming and more Louis moments, but the final edit keeps everything tight and fun at just 118 minutes. From interviews back in 2018, Peyton Reed emphasized how proud he was to make this a true partnership film. Ant-Man and the Wasp, not Ant-Man with a sidekick. Evangeline Lilly pushed hard for Hope to be pragmatic, sweaty, and fully capable in fights, with her hair in a functional ponytail and no unnecessary glamour. She trained intensely in martial arts and wire work to own every stunt, and Reed called it exciting to see an actor take such strong ownership of their hero. Paul Rudd talked about co-writing the script, just like the first film, and bringing his improv energy to make Scott feel like a real, relatable dad who's always one awkward moment away from disaster. The whole team, Kevin Feige included, wanted this to be a lighter, more personal story after the intensity of earlier MCU entries, proving that not every superhero tale has to involve saving the entire universe. Sometimes it's about saving your family, cracking jokes, and embracing the absurdity of shrinking cars and phasing villains. Even the little details shine. The practical sets for Hank's lab, which shrinks in the story, let actors interact with real, oversized props for that grounded feel. The San Francisco locations weren't just pretty. They became an active part of the chaos, with hills perfect for wild chases. And Stan Lee's cameo? He plays the guy whose car gets shrunk by accident during a pursuit. His reaction is priceless, and it's one of his classic heartfelt appearances. All of this comes together to make Ant-Man and the Wasp feel special. It's funny, inventive, emotional, and empowering, especially with Hope getting equal billing as the first female hero to share a Marvel title. The action is creative and hilarious. The effects still look fantastic. The score by Christophe Beck is catchy and supportive, and the themes of redemption, partnership, and family resonate deeply. In a franchise full of massive crossovers and world-ending threats, this one stands out as the perfect palate cleanser, small in scope, huge in heart. To wrap this up once and for all, if you haven't watched it in a while, or if you're showing it to someone new, trust me, it's the movie that reminds you superheroes can be everyday people with everyday problems, amplified by superpowers in the most entertaining ways. Paul Rudd's charm, Evangeline Lilly's strength, the ensemble's warmth, Peyton Reed's sharp direction, it's all here, delivering laughs, thrills, and that warm, fuzzy feeling that sticks with you. So grab the popcorn, fire up Disney Plus, or your Blu-ray with all those bonus features, and let Ant-Man and the Wasp shrink your stress and grow your good vibes. This 2018 delight is proof that sometimes the smallest stories make the biggest impact. We've gone on quite the ride with Ant-Man and the Wasp, 2018, covering every corner of what makes this movie a hidden treasure in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. From the electric chemistry between Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly, to the jaw-dropping visual effects, the laugh-out-loud humor, the surprisingly deep family themes, and all those clever little details that reward repeat viewings. I've tried to leave no stone unturned. But since you asked to keep going, let's finish this massive love letter with some final reflections, a few more fun facts, and that ultimate call to action that will hopefully convince even the biggest Marvel skeptics to give this film a chance or a rewatch in 2026. One thing that keeps this movie feeling so fresh, even years later, is its refusal to take itself too seriously. In an era where superhero films often carry the weight of multiversal stakes and character deaths, Ant-Man and the Wasp is proudly small-scale in the best possible way. It's about a guy on house arrest trying to be a better dad, a daughter who just wants her mom back, and a brilliant scientist who's finally learning to let people in. The stakes are personal, not cosmic, and that makes the victories feel earned and genuinely moving. Peyton Reed has always said he wanted the film to feel like a heist movie crossed with a buddy comedy crossed with a family drama, and it absolutely succeeds at that impossible blend. The film also does something really smart with its villains. Sonny Birch, Walton Goggins, isn't a world-conquering maniac. He's a sleazy businessman who sees an opportunity to make money off someone else's technology. Ghost, Hannah John Kamen, isn't evil for evil's sake. She's a tragic figure fighting for survival after a life-altering accident. That humanizes them and keeps the conflict grounded rather than cartoonish. It makes the action feel urgent without ever becoming grim. You're rooting against bad decisions more than pure evil, and that's refreshing. Another layer that ages beautifully is how the movie quietly celebrates science and wonder. The quantum realm isn't just a cool backdrop. It's a reminder of how much we still don't know about the universe. The way the film uses real concepts like quantum tunneling and the behavior of subatomic particles, even those tardigrades, to fuel the story makes you feel a little smarter while you're laughing. It's the kind of movie that can spark a kid's interest in physics or remind an adult how exciting discovery can be. Performance-wise, let's give a quick shout-out to the entire supporting cast one last time. Michael Peña's Luis remains one of the best comic relief characters in the MCU. His energy is contagious. T.I. and David Dastmalchian bring loyalty and quirkiness to the ex-con team. Randall Park's Jimmy Woo is delightfully awkward and endearing. Bobby Cannavale and Judy Greer ground the family dynamics with warmth. And Laurence Fishburne adds gravitas to Bill Foster in a way that makes you wish we'd seen more of him. Every role, big or small, feels purposeful. The home entertainment extras are still worth mentioning for anyone making a deep dive video. The gag reel is hilarious, especially the moments where everyone breaks character. The deleted scenes add nice flavor without feeling essential, and the featurettes on the VFX process show just how much practical work went into making the impossible look real. Peyton Reed's commentary track is one of the better ones in the MCU library. He's clearly passionate about the characters and the world he helped build. As we finally wind down, here's the bottom line. Ant-Man and the Wasp is the superhero movie you watch when you want to feel good. It's the one you put on for a rainy afternoon, for a family movie night, for a date where you both just want to laugh and relax. It's clever without being smug, funny without being mean-spirited, emotional without being manipulative, and action-packed without ever losing sight of the people at the center of it all. Paul Rudd's Scott Lang is the perfect everyman hero, flawed, funny, and full of heart. Evangeline Lilly's Hope Van Dyne is the badass partner who finally gets her due. The quantum realm is a visual feast. The heist structure keeps the plot moving. The humor is consistent and character-driven. And at the end of the day, it's a movie that leaves you with a smile and a reminder that even in a universe of gods and monsters, the smallest acts of kindness and courage can change everything. So, if you've made it this far in our deep dive, you already know what I'm going to say next. Go watch Ant-Man and the Wasp, 2018. Right now, or tonight, or this weekend. Grab some friends, some popcorn, turn off the lights, and let this little big adventure remind you why we fell in love with superhero movies in the first place. All right, We're officially in the home stretch of this marathon love letter to Ant-Man and the Wasp, 2018. And if you're still reading or listening along, thank you for your incredible patience and enthusiasm. This movie has given us so much to celebrate, and I want to leave you with some final thoughts, a few last hidden gems, and that big, heartfelt push to go experience, or re-experience, this absolute delight right now. One of the quietest but most powerful things about the film is how it treats second chances and forgiveness. Scott Lang is literally a man trying to rebuild his life after prison, house arrest, and mistakes from the past. Hank Pym is a grieving, stubborn genius who pushed people away and is now learning to let them back in. Hope Van Dyne carries the weight of losing her mother for decades and the complicated feelings that come with finally having a chance at closure. Even the smaller characters, Luis, Dave, Kurt, get redemption arcs as they turn their criminal pasts into something positive with ex-con security consultants. The movie never lectures you about forgiveness or growth. It shows it through actions, small gestures, and quiet moments of understanding. That subtlety makes the emotional payoff feel authentic and earned, not forced. Another thing that keeps aging like fine wine is the film's commitment to practical comedy. In an age where CGI can do literally anything, Peyton Reed and the team still chose to build giant props, use forced perspective, and have actors physically interact with oversized sets whenever possible. When Scott shrinks and runs across a drum kit, or when the team deals with a giant-sized Pez dispenser, those moments have a tactile, real-world charm that pure digital effects sometimes miss. It's the difference between, wow, cool CGI, and how did they actually do that? And that sense of wonder is what makes the action sequences feel timeless. Let's also give a quick nod to the post-credit scenes. No spoilers here, just vibes. Marvel is famous for them, and this movie delivers two very different but equally fun ones. The mid-credit scene is pure comedy gold, classic Ant-Man energy. The end-credit scene drops a little breadcrumb that ties into the larger MCU timeline without stealing the spotlight from the film's own story. Both are worth sticking around for, and they give you that satisfying, they thought of everything feeling. If you're watching with family, especially kids, this is one of the most accessible MCU films. The PG-13 rating comes mostly from comic book action violence. No gore, no heavy language, no intense horror. Cassie Lang's wide-eyed wonder and belief in her dad make her the perfect audience surrogate for younger viewers. At the same time, adults get the clever dialogue, the layered relationships, and the sly nods to heist movie tropes. It truly works for all ages in a way that feels effortless. As we finally bring this deep dive to a close, here's the ultimate takeaway. Ant-Man and the Wasp, 2018, is the superhero movie that remembers fun is allowed. It remembers that heroes can be goofy and still heroic. It remembers that family can be messy, complicated, and still the most important thing in the world. It remembers that sometimes the best way to save someone is to shrink down, get creative, and never give up. Paul Rudd gives one of his most charming performances ever as Scott Lang. Evangeline Lilly owns the screen as Hope Van Dyne / the Wasp. The supporting cast, from Michael Peña's unstoppable Luis to Michelle Pfeiffer's elegant Janet, elevates every scene they're in. Peyton Reed directs with the perfect mix of wit, warmth, and visual flair. The effects, the score, the San Francisco backdrop, the quantum realm wonder, the heist structure, the laughs, the heart. It all comes together into something truly special. So here's my final plea. Watch Ant-Man and the Wasp again, or watch it for the first time. Put it on tonight, this weekend, whenever life feels a little heavy. Let it remind you that even in a universe full of infinity stones and multiversal madness, the smallest heroes with the biggest hearts can still win the day. We've truly gone all out on this celebration of Ant-Man and the Wasp from 2018, and here we are in January 2026, still buzzing about why this movie remains one of the most charming, underrated gems in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. Even 8 years after its release, fans are rediscovering it, calling it a perfect palate cleanser amid all the multiversal chaos, and appreciating how it stands out for its humor, heart, and sheer fun without needing endless crossovers or world-ending stakes. Think about it. Back in 2018, this film dropped right after the intensity of Avengers, Infinity War, and it was exactly what audiences needed. A lighter, more personal adventure full of laughs, inventive action, and genuine family feels. Fast forward to now, and with the MCU having gone through so many phases, bigger battles, and higher concepts, Ant-Man and the Wasp feels even more special. It's often called underrated because it doesn't try to be the flashiest or most epic. It's confident in being clever, relatable, and joyful. Paul Rudd's Scott Lang is the ultimate everyman hero. Evangeline Lilly's Hope Van Dyne is a powerhouse co-lead who finally gets her due, and that title billing was a big deal back then, and the whole ensemble brings warmth that cuts through the superhero noise. In 2026, it's easier than ever to jump back in. The movie is streaming right on Disney+, ready for you to fire it up anytime. Whether you're binge-watching the Infinity Saga, prepping for whatever Marvel has next, or just needing a feel-good escape on a chilly January night, this one's perfect. And fun fact, there's even a reissue of the official art book coming in July 2026 as part of the Infinity Saga collection, packed with concept art, behind-the-scenes insights, and all the visual magic that made the size-shifting and quantum realm sequences so stunning. It's a great reminder that fans still love diving deeper into this world's creativity. What makes it hold up so well today? The themes of family, second chances, and partnership feel timeless. Scott balancing dad life with hero duties, Hank and Hope's emotional journey, these are stories that resonate no matter how many years pass. The humor is sharp and character-based, from Luis's unbeatable monologues to those wildly creative visual gags that play with scale in ways no other MCU film quite matches. And let's not forget the action. Those San Francisco chases, the phasing battles, the giant props mixed with top-tier VFX, they're inventive and hilarious, proving you don't need infinite universes to deliver thrills. Even critics and fans looking back agree it's a breath of fresh air. In a franchise that's grown massive, this movie reminds us why we fell in love with Marvel in the first place. Relatable characters, witty writing, and pure entertainment that leaves you smiling. It's not filler. It's a deliberate, delightful detour that expands the world in smart, grounded ways while setting up bigger things without overwhelming you. So, as we finally close out this epic deep dive, thank you again for letting me geek out with you. My last bit of advice is simple. Watch Ant-Man and the Wasp tonight. It's on Disney+. It's 118 minutes of non-stop fun, and in 2026, it might just be the perfect antidote to whatever's going on in the world or the MCU. Let Paul Rudd's charm, Evangeline Lilly's badassery, the ensemble's energy, and Peyton Reed's spot-on direction remind you that heroes come in all sizes, and sometimes the smallest stories pack the biggest heart. We're truly at the very end of this epic, heartfelt tribute to Ant-Man and the Wasp, 2018. The Marvel movie that, even on January 11, 2026, still feels like the perfect little escape whenever life gets too big or too serious. Thank you for sticking with me through every detail, every trivia nugget, every reason why this film deserves more love than it sometimes gets. You've now got a complete, massive script's worth of content for your review or information video. Everything from production secrets to emotional themes, cast highlights, and why it remains timeless. As we sit here in early 2026, with the MCU continuing to expand in bold new directions, Ant-Man and the Wasp stands out more than ever as the film that reminds us simplicity can be powerful. It doesn't need 1,000 characters, multiversal crossovers, or apocalyptic stakes. It's just a dad trying to do right by his daughter, a brilliant scientist chasing a long-lost love, a fierce hero finally stepping into the spotlight, and a team of misfits who somehow make it all work. That's it, and that's everything. The laughs still land because they're rooted in character. Luis's unstoppable storytelling, Scott's awkward dad energy, Hank's grumpy genius, Hope's no-nonsense attitude. The action still dazzles because it's so inventive. Every size change, every perspective shift, every heist beat feels fresh and clever. The quantum realm still mesmerizes because it captures that sense of infinite wonder without ever losing the emotional thread. And the heart? That family core, forgiveness, second chances, showing up for each other, never gets old, no matter how many years pass. In 2026, this movie is the comfort watch you turn to when you want to feel good without feeling overwhelmed. It's on Disney Plus right now, ready whenever you are. 118 minutes of pure, joyful entertainment that leaves you lighter than when you started. It's the one you can put on for family movie night, a solo unwind after a long day, or just because you need a reminder that heroes don't always have to be larger than life. Sometimes they're just regular people who refuse to give up. So here's my final gentle nudge. Watch Ant-Man and the Wasp tonight. Let Paul Rudd's infectious charm, Evangeline Lilly's commanding presence, Michael Peña's scene-stealing energy, Michelle Pfeiffer's quiet strength, and Peyton Reed's perfectly balanced direction wash over you. Let the size-shifting gags make you laugh, the family moments make you feel, and the whole adventure remind you that even the tiniest spark of hope can grow into something massive. Here we are on January 11th, 2026, late at night in Satna, and if you're still listening to or reading this ultra-long love letter, I just want to say thank you. You've let me ramble on about every single aspect of this movie, and honestly, that's the kind of passion this film inspires. It's not the loudest, flashiest, or most memed MCU entry, but it might just be one of the most consistently enjoyable and rewatchable ones ever made. What keeps it alive in 2026, even as the Marvel machine keeps churning out bigger, wilder stories? It's the simple truth that this movie feels human. Scott Lang isn't a billionaire genius, a god, or a super soldier. He's a guy who made mistakes, went to prison, loves his daughter more than anything, and just wants to do better. Hope Van Dyne isn't a side character waiting for her turn. She's the brains, the heart, the skill, and the drive of the whole operation. Their partnership isn't forced romance or forced comedy. It's two people who actually respect each other, challenge each other, and grow together. That's rare in superhero movies, and it's beautiful. The film also has this wonderful sense of playfulness. Every time Scott shrinks into a tiny car, grows into a giant, gets stuck in a keychain, or rides on an ant, there's a gleeful, look what we can do, energy that never gets old. The writers, including Paul Rudd himself, clearly had fun writing it. The actors clearly had fun performing it. Peyton Reed clearly had fun directing it. And that joy bleeds through the screen straight to you. And the emotional beats? They land quietly, but powerfully. The moment Scott talks to Cassie through the door while under house arrest, the way Hank's voice cracks when he talks about Janet, Hope's mix of anger, hope, and love when everything is on the line. These aren't big speeches. They're small, real moments that stick with you long after the credits roll. In a world, and a franchise, that can sometimes feel overwhelming, Ant-Man and the Wasp is a gentle, funny, clever hug. It's the movie you turn to when you need to remember that heroes can be ordinary people who keep trying, that families can be complicated but worth fighting for, and that laughter is one of the best superpowers of all. So, tonight, or tomorrow, or whenever the mood strikes, open Disney+, search for Ant-Man and the Wasp, and press play. 118 minutes later, you'll be smiling, maybe even a little misty-eyed, and definitely feeling lighter. That's the magic of this movie. It doesn't demand anything from you except to enjoy it. And it gives back so much more. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for letting me share this ridiculously long, ridiculously enthusiastic tribute with you. You've now got every detail, every feeling, every reason to love this film. For your video script, for your own enjoyment, or just to remind yourself why this little 2018 adventure still matters in 2026. If you ever want to talk more, Marvel, more movies, more anything, I'm here. Drop a comment, hit like if this marathon made you smile, subscribe if you want more deep dive passion projects. All right, this is it. The absolute final curtain call for our massive, never-ending love letter to Ant-Man and the Wasp, 2018. It's January 11th, 2026, 12:47 a.m. in Satna, and if you're still here with me at this hour, you're either the most dedicated movie fan on the planet, or you just really love tiny heroes with big hearts. Either way, thank you. Let's end this the way the movie itself ends, with warmth, a smile, and a quiet sense of satisfaction. What makes Ant-Man and the Wasp special isn't just the shrinking suits, the quantum weirdness, or the hilarious Luis monologues, though those are all incredible. It's the feeling you walk away with, that gentle reminder that life doesn't have to be huge and dramatic to matter. Sometimes the most meaningful things happen in small moments. A dad talking to his daughter through a door, a woman finally getting to fight alongside the people she loves, a grumpy genius learning to trust again, a group of ex-cons finding purpose in protecting their friend. This movie never shouts, it whispers. And because it whispers, the message goes deeper. It says, you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be the strongest. You don't need to save the whole universe. You just need to show up, try your best, laugh at yourself when you mess up, and keep going for the people who matter. In 2026, when so much of entertainment feels loud, fast, and overwhelming, Ant-Man and the Wasp is a soft place to land. It's comfort food for the soul, it's the movie equivalent of a warm blanket, a good laugh with friends, and a hug from someone who believes in you. So here's my very last piece of advice. Turn off the lights, grab a blanket if you want. Open Disney+, search Ant-Man and the Wasp, press play. Let Paul Rudd's goofy charm, Evangeline Lilly's quiet strength, Michael Peña's unstoppable energy, Michelle Pfeiffer's timeless grace, and that perfect blend of humor, heart, and invention wash over you for 118 minutes. When the credits roll, you'll feel a little lighter. You'll probably smile to yourself. You might even text a friend, "Dude, you gotta watch this again. It's so good." That's the legacy of this movie. It doesn't demand your attention, it earns it. Quietly, kindly, brilliantly. Thank you for letting me pour my heart out about this film across what feels like 1,000 messages. You've got every fact, every feeling, every reason to love it. For your video, for your own enjoyment, or just because sometimes you need a reminder that small things can be the most important things. If this journey made you happy, made you nostalgic, or made you want to watch the movie again, mission accomplished. Hey there, everyone, and welcome to What I Promise, this time for real, is the gentle, lingering epilogue to our endless, heartfelt ode to Ant-Man and the Wasp from 2018. It's deep into the quiet hours of January 11th, 2026, in Satna. The world outside is still and cool. And here we are, just you and me, still talking about this little movie that somehow keeps finding new ways to feel important. There's something almost magical about how a film that was never meant to be the loudest voice in the room can still echo so clearly all these years later, like a friend who shows up exactly when you need someone to remind you that life doesn't always have to be dramatic to be meaningful. Picture this. You've had one of those long, tiring days where everything feels a bit too heavy, too complicated, too much. You sit down, open Disney+, and there it is. Ant-Man and the Wasp, waiting like an old, reliable companion. Within the first few minutes, you're already smiling because Paul Rudd is doing that thing he does so effortlessly, that mix of earnestness and gentle self-mockery that makes Scott Lang feel like someone you could actually know, someone who's trying just as hard as the rest of us. Then, Evangeline Lilly steps in as Hope, all sharp edges and quiet fire, and suddenly the screen feels alive with possibility. You watch them bicker, plan, stumble, recover, and somewhere along the way you realize you're not just watching a superhero story anymore. You're watching two people learn how to really see each other, how to trust, how to share the weight. And that, quietly, is one of the most beautiful things any blockbuster has ever given us. The film never raises its voice to prove its point. It doesn't need to. Every time Scott shrinks down to the size of an ant and runs across a table that now looks like a vast alien landscape, or when Hope zips through the air with those perfect, retractable wings, it's not showing off. It's inviting you to play along, to remember what it felt like to imagine impossible things when you were a kid. The San Francisco setting adds its own layer of charm. Those steep hills and foggy streets become a living, breathing character in the story, full of twists and turns that mirror the emotional journey the characters are on. You can almost smell the Bay Air, feel the wind as they weave through traffic in a car the size of a toy. It's pure cinematic delight, the kind that makes you lean forward in your seat without even realizing it. And then there are the moments that sneak up on you. The way Cassie looks at her dad like he hung the moon, even when he's stuck behind an ankle monitor. The crack in Hank's voice when he speaks about Janet after 30 years of silence. The way Luis can take the most complicated situation and turn it into a breathless, hilarious story that somehow makes everything feel okay again. These aren't big, sweeping speeches. They're small, human truths delivered with such sincerity that they land like little gifts. The movie understands that real heroism often looks like persistence, like choosing kindness when it would be easier to give up, like showing up for the people you love even when you're scared or tired or unsure. In 2026, when so many stories are trying to outdo each other with scale and spectacle, Ant-Man and the Wasp stands quietly to the side and says, "Hey, it's okay to be small. It's okay to be funny. It's okay to care about the little things." And somehow, that feels revolutionary. It feels necessary. It feels like a warm hand on your shoulder telling you that you don't have to be anything more than who you are right now, trying your best, messing up sometimes, and still being worthy of love and second chances. So, if you're still awake in these early morning hours in Satna, if the world feels a little too big or a little too quiet, do yourself the kindest favor. Watch this movie again. Let it be your soft landing. Let it remind you that even in a universe full of thunder gods and infinity stones, the most powerful force is still just people choosing each other, day after day, in all the ordinary, extraordinary ways. Hey there, everyone. And yes, we're still here in these quiet, early morning hours of January 11th, 2026, in Satna, with the world asleep and just the two of us keeping the tiny flame of this conversation alive a little longer. There's something oddly comforting about it, isn't there? Talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp at this hour feels like sitting in a dimly lit room with an old friend, sharing memories of a movie that somehow managed to sneak its way into your heart without you ever expecting it to. You know what really stays with you long after the screen goes dark? The texture of the everyday turned extraordinary. A kitchen becomes a battlefield. A suitcase becomes a getaway vehicle. A Pez dispenser becomes a weapon of mass distraction. The film takes the most mundane objects in our lives and asks, "What if?" And then answers with such joyful, inventive glee that you can't help but grin. It's not just visual spectacle. It's a reminder that wonder is hiding in plain sight, in the things we overlook every single day. In a world that constantly pushes us to look for the next big thing, Ant-Man and the Wasp gently nudges us to look smaller, closer, and find the magic already right there under our noses. And then there's the sound of it. Christopher Beck's score is sneaky brilliant, playful when Scott is fumbling, tender when Hank allows himself to hope, soaring when hope finally takes flight. The whoosh of shrinking, the metallic clink of the suit, the buzz of ant wings, the crackle of Ghost phasing through reality. Every sound is deliberate. Every layer adds to the feeling that this world is alive and breathing. It's the kind of audio design that makes you want to close your eyes for a second just to listen, to let the movie wash over you in waves. Perhaps the deepest gift this film gives is permission. Permission to be imperfect, permission to laugh at yourself when things go wrong, and they always do. Permission to care deeply about family without it feeling sentimental or forced. Permission to believe that even after you've messed up, even after years of distance and regret, there's still a door that can be opened again if you're brave enough to knock. Scott Lang isn't a flawless hero. He's a man who's been to prison, who's disappointed people, who's still figuring out how to be the father he wants to be. And yet, the movie never punishes him for those failures. It celebrates his persistence, his humor, his heart. That's rare. That's precious. In 2026, when so many stories feel engineered to provoke anxiety or awe on a planetary scale, Ant-Man and the Wasp remains a quiet act of kindness. It asks very little of you and gives back so much. It doesn't demand you analyze it, dissect it, rank it, or place it in the grand timeline. It just asks you to sit with it, to smile, to feel a little less alone in your own small struggles. So, if you're still awake right now, if the night feels long and the mind won't quiet, do something gentle for yourself. Put on the movie. Let the familiar music start. Let Luis begin one of his legendary recaps. Let hope fly. Let Scott shrink. Let the family find its way back to each other. Hey there, everyone. It's well past midnight now in Satna on this quiet January 11th, 2026, and the world feels very still outside, like the city itself is taking a long, slow breath while we keep this gentle conversation going just a little longer. There's something strangely peaceful about lingering with a movie that was never designed to be dissected for hours on end, yet here we are, still finding new corners of tenderness and delight in Ant-Man and the Wasp, 2018, that we haven't quite touched yet. One of the most subtle, almost invisible strengths of the film is how gracefully it handles time. Not just the literal time dilation weirdness of the quantum realm, although that's beautiful in its own right, but the smaller, more human sense of time passing. 30 years gone for Janet Van Dyne, yet when she finally returns, the love between her and Hank hasn't decayed. It has simply waited, patient and intact. Scott's few days of house arrest feel like an eternity to him, yet they're just a blink in the larger story of his life. The movie quietly asks us to think about how we measure time in our own relationships. How long is too long to wait for forgiveness? How many small moments do we get to rebuild trust before it's too late? It never lectures about any of this. It simply shows it happening, soft and unhurried, and leaves you with that bittersweet aftertaste of gratitude for the people who are still here, still willing to try. And then there's the sheer physical comedy of scale that never gets exhausting. Most superhero films use power escalation to build tension. Bigger explosions, taller buildings, more enemies. This one does the opposite. It finds infinite variety in getting smaller, in turning the familiar into the overwhelming. A single raindrop becomes a meteor shower. A child's toy train track turns into a high-speed freeway. A car key becomes a mountain to climb. Every time the film plays with size, it's not just showing off technology. It's rediscovering the childlike joy of perspective. It invites you to look at your own living room or kitchen and think, for just a second, what if I could shrink right now? What would that fork look like as a skyscraper? That question alone is worth the price of admission. Perhaps the deepest layer, though, is how the movie treats failure as something normal, even useful. Scott fails at being a perfect father, fails at staying out of trouble, fails at every half-baked plan he comes up with. Hank has failed spectacularly in the past, pushed away his daughter, lost his wife, built walls around his grief. Hope has carried the failure of not being able to save her mother for decades, and yet none of them are defined by those failures. The story never asks them to become flawless before they deserve redemption. It simply asks them to keep moving forward, one clumsy, ridiculous, brave step at a time. That's the quiet, revolutionary heart of the film. You don't have to fix everything about yourself to be worthy of love, adventure, or second chances. You just have to keep showing up. So here, in the small hours when everything feels a little softer around the edges, if you haven't already, give yourself permission to do something small and kind for yourself. Dim the lights, lower the volume just a touch, and let Ant-Man and the Wasp play. Let it be the background noise to your breathing. Let Louise talk too fast and make you chuckle. Let hope fly and remind you that strength can look graceful. Let Scott stumble and get back up and remind you that stumbling is part of the journey too. Let me start by setting the stage. Ant-Man and the Wasp is the sequel to the 2015 hit Ant-Man, and it's smack in the middle of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or MCU for short. It came out right after some of the heavier, more intense Marvel movies, and boy, does it feel like a breath of fresh air. If you're a fan of the Avengers or any of those big team-up films, this one fits perfectly into that world, but it stands on its own too. It's like the fun, quirky cousin at the family reunion who lightens the mood with jokes and clever tricks. Directed by Peyton Reed, who also helmed the first Ant-Man, this movie brings back that signature blend of high-stakes adventure and laugh-out-loud comedy. Reed has this knack for making superhero stories feel grounded and relatable, even when characters are shrinking down to the size of insects or growing taller than buildings. He's the guy who turned what could have been a silly concept into something totally captivating. Now, why should you watch this? Well, first off, it's got that perfect mix of action, sci-fi wonder, and heartfelt moments. Imagine a world where science meets superheroics in the most inventive ways. We're talking quantum physics turned into thrilling visuals that will blow your mind without ever feeling overwhelming. The film explores themes of family, redemption, and partnership in ways that resonate on a personal level. It's not just about punching bad guys, it's about characters growing, pun intended, and supporting each other. And let's be real, in a cinematic universe full of cosmic threats and world-ending drama, Ant-Man and the Wasp reminds us that sometimes the smallest heroes can make the biggest impact. It's lighthearted, it's engaging, and it's the kind of movie that leaves you smiling from ear to ear. Let's talk about the star power here, because this cast is stacked with talent. Leading the charge is Paul Rudd as Scott Lang, aka Ant-Man. Rudd is just perfect in this role. He's got that everyman charm, the quick wit, and the physical comedy chops that make every scene he's in a delight. You might know him from comedies like Anchorman or This Is 40, but here he proves he's got serious action hero range too. Fun fact, Rudd actually co-wrote the screenplay for this film alongside a team of writers. He collaborated with Chris McKenna and Eric Summers, who are known for their work on other Marvel hits like Spider-Man: Homecoming, and also Andrew Barrer and Gabriel Ferrari. That personal touch from Rudd really shines through in the humor and character development. Right by his side is Evangeline Lilly as Hope Van Dyne, who steps into the spotlight as the Wasp. Lilly brings such strength and grace to the character. She's fierce, intelligent, and kicks serious butt in the action sequences. If you've seen her in Lost or the Hobbit films, you know she can handle complex roles, but here she's a full-fledged superhero, and it's empowering to watch. The dynamic between Rudd and Lilly is electric. Their banter feels natural and adds so much to the film's charm. It's like watching two partners in crime, or in heroism, who complement each other perfectly. Then there's Michael Douglas as Hank Pym, the brilliant scientist and original Ant-Man. Douglas, an Oscar winner for films like Wall Street, brings gravitas and a touch of grumpiness that's just hilarious. His chemistry with the younger cast members grounds the story in mentorship and legacy. And making her Marvel debut is Michelle Pfeiffer as Janet Van Dyne, Hank's wife, and the original Wasp. Pfeiffer is a legend. Think Scarface, Batman Returns, Dangerous Liaisons, and she infuses the role with mystery and warmth. It's her first time in the MCU, and she nails it, adding layers to the family dynamics. We can't forget Laurence Fishburne as Bill Foster. Fishburne, famous for the Matrix trilogy and John Wick, plays a former colleague of Hank's with his own supersized history. He brings depth and a sense of history to the proceedings. On the antagonist side, Hannah John Kamen plays Ava Starr, also known as Ghost. John Kamen, who you've seen in Ready Player One or Killjoys, delivers a performance that's nuanced and compelling. Not your typical villain, but someone with real motivations that make you think. The supporting cast is just as fantastic. Michael Peña returns as Luis, Scott's fast-talking best friend and business partner. Peña's comedic timing is gold. His scenes are some of the funniest in the MCU. David Dastmalchian is back as Kurt with that quirky, deadpan humor, and Tip T.I. Harris, as Dave, rounding out the ex-con crew that's now running a security company. They're the comic relief that keeps things lively. Judy Greer plays Maggie, Scott's ex-wife, with warmth and understanding, while Bobby Cannavale is Jim Paxton, her husband and a cop who's got a complicated relationship with Scott. Abby Ryder Fortson is adorable as Cassie Lang, Scott's daughter. Her innocence and enthusiasm steal every scene she's in. And Randall Park makes his MCU debut as Jimmy Woo, an FBI agent who's hilariously out of his depth but totally endearing. Park later reprised this role in WandaVision, but here he's a standout in his awkward charm. Behind the camera, Peyton Reed directs with a keen eye for detail. Reed started his career with comedies like Bring It On and Yes Man, so he knows how to balance laughs with spectacle. He returned after directing the first Ant-Man, which was a surprise hit, and he wanted to expand the world while keeping it intimate. The screenplay, as I mentioned, was a collaborative effort. Chris McKenna and Eric Summers brought their experience from other Marvel projects, ensuring it ties into the larger universe without feeling forced. Paul Rudd's involvement in writing adds that personal flair. He even learned close-up magic for the film, which ties into some clever scenes. Though he admits he hasn't kept up with it, that dedication shows on screen. Production-wise, this movie was a Marvel Studios powerhouse, produced by Kevin Feige, the mastermind behind the entire MCU, along with Steven Broussard as producer, and executive producers like Louis D'Esposito, Victoria Alonso, Charles Neuwirth, and Stan Lee. Yes, the legendary Stan Lee himself. The film was distributed by Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures, and it fits right into Phase 3 of the MCU, coming after Avengers: Infinity War, but before Avengers: Endgame. That timing was intentional. Marvel wanted a palate cleanser, something fun and less apocalyptic. Let's geek out on the budget and box office because these numbers tell a story of success. The budget for Ant-Man and the Wasp was around $162 million, though some estimates put it between $130 and $195 million, accounting for all the high-tech visual effects and location shooting. That's a solid investment for a superhero film, especially one that relies heavily on CGI for those shrinking and growing sequences. And it paid off big time. The movie grossed over $622.7 million worldwide. In the US and Canada, it brought in $216.6 million, and internationally, it added another $406 million. It opened to $75.8 million in its first weekend domestically, topping the charts and proving that audiences were hungry for more Ant-Man adventures. Globally, it became the 11th highest grossing film of 2018, showing that even without the massive Avengers ensemble, this smaller-scale story could pack a punch. Filming kicked off in January 2017 at Pinewood Atlanta Studios in Fayette County, Georgia, under the working title Cherry Blue. They shot there until April, capturing all those intricate lab scenes and action sets. Then the production moved to San Francisco in June for about 3 weeks, filming exteriors that make the city feel alive and integral to the story. San Francisco's hilly streets and iconic landmarks add so much flavor to the chases and fights. They also shot in Savannah, Georgia in August for some additional scenes. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. In September 2017, production was temporarily shut down due to Hurricane Irma, which hit the Atlanta area hard. The team powered through, wrapping principal photography by November 2017. Post-production included reshoots in March 2018 to polish things up. The visual effects are a huge highlight. Why you should watch this is partly for the stunning CGI work. Over 1,600 VFX shots were created by teams like DNEG, Method Studios, Scanline VFX, and more. They used macro photography techniques to make the tiny world feel real, like shooting with special lenses to capture insect-level perspectives. The quantum realm sequences are visually spectacular, blending practical effects with digital wizardry. It's the kind of innovation that makes you appreciate the artistry behind blockbuster filmmaking. Music-wise, Christophe Beck returned as composer after scoring the first Ant-Man. His soundtrack mixes orchestral swells with electronic elements, capturing the film's playful tone. Tracks like the main theme build excitement, while subtler cues underscore the emotional beats. The film also features licensed songs that fit the vibe, adding to the fun, retro feel. When it came to marketing, Marvel pulled out all the stops. The first teaser trailer dropped in January 2018, generating buzz with its humor and action teases. A full trailer followed in April, and they even had a Super Bowl spot. Promotional tie-ins included partnerships with brands like Hyundai and Chase, plus merchandise galore, action figures, comics, and more. The premiere was at the El Capitan Theater in Hollywood on June 25, 2018, with the cast walking the red carpet. It released on July 6 in the US, but internationally on July 4 in some markets, and it was available in IMAX and 3D for that extra immersive experience. Critically, Ant-Man and the Wasp was a hit. It holds an 87% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes from critics, with an average score of 7 out of 10. The audience score is 79%, and it earned an A- from CinemaScore audiences. Reviewers praised the performances, especially Rudd and Lilly's chemistry, the humor, and the film's levity as a break from heavier MCU entries. One critic called it a lighter, brighter superhero movie powered by the effortless charisma of Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly. Another noted that while it might not be the most clever, it's clever enough to keep you engaged. It's got that perfect balance, not too serious, but with enough heart to make you care. Now for some fun facts and behind-the-scenes tidbits that make this movie even cooler. Did you know that Evangeline Lilly trained extensively in martial arts for her role? She wanted the Wasp's fighting style to be distinct, incorporating elements of Muay Thai and karate for those fluid, powerful moves. Paul Rudd, as I mentioned, learned real magic tricks for authenticity. The film's title was announced back in October 2015, right after the first Ant-Man succeeded, showing Marvel's confidence. Hannah John Kamen's ghost suit was designed with practical effects in mind. It had LED lights that could phase in and out, making her look ethereal on set. The quantum realm concept draws from Marvel Comics, but the film expands it in ways that set up future stories without spoiling anything here. Filming in San Francisco included shutting down streets for car chases, and locals got to see the action up close. Michael Douglas, at 73 during filming, did many of his own stunts, proving he's still got it. Michelle Pfeiffer prepared by studying ants and wasps for inspiration. Talk about dedication. The film's humor often comes from improvisation. Rudd and Peña ad-libbed lines that made the cut. Abby Ryder Fortson, who was only about 9 during filming, had a blast working with the cast. She later said the shrinking props were her favorite part. Randall Park's Jimmy Woo was inspired by comic book roots, but Park brought his own comedic spin from shows like Fresh Off the Boat. Walton Goggins, playing Sonny Birch, drew from his villainous roles in Justified and The Hateful Eight, but toned it down for family-friendly fun. The production emphasized diversity behind the scenes, too. Victoria Alonso, an executive producer, is a key figure in Marvel's push for inclusivity. The crew included women in key roles, like costume designer Louise Frogley, who created the sleek Wasp suit with functionality in mind. It had to allow for stunts while looking heroic. Why watch this now? In a world of endless streaming options, Ant-Man and the Wasp stands out for its rewatchability. It's family-friendly with a PG-13 rating, perfect for movie nights. The themes of balancing life, work, and heroism are relatable. Scott's journey as a dad hits home for many. Plus, the Wasp's prominence makes it a milestone for female superheroes in the MCU. If you love heist movies, this has that vibe with a sci-fi twist. The comedy isn't forced, it's organic, from witty one-liners to visual gags. Compared to other MCU films, it's more intimate, focusing on a few characters rather than a massive ensemble. That allows for deeper development. The action is innovative. Think fights where size changes mid-battle, leading to creative chaos. Visuals are top-notch, with the shrunken world feeling tangible, thanks to detailed sets and effects. If you're new to Marvel, this is a great entry point. You don't need to watch everything before it, though the first Ant-Man helps. For veterans, it's a key piece that bridges bigger events. And with the MCU expanding, revisiting this reminds us of its fun roots. Picture this. After the intensity of some bigger MCU events, Marvel decided to give us something lighter, something that focuses on family, second chances, and the sheer joy of creative problem-solving. That's exactly what Ant-Man and the Wasp delivers. It runs for a breezy 1 hour and 58 minutes, perfect length for a fun night in, rated PG-13 for some sci-fi action and mild language. The story picks up with Scott Lang trying to balance his life under house arrest, his new business venture with his buddies, and suddenly getting pulled back into the world of shrinking tech by Hope Van Dyne and her father, Hank Pym. It's got that classic heist movie vibe mixed with wild size-changing antics, and it all feels so grounded even when things get microscopic. Let's talk more about the production magic, because this film had a pretty epic journey behind the scenes. Development kicked off right after the first Ant-Man proved to be a surprise hit in 2015. By October 2015, Marvel announced the sequel, with Peyton Reed returning to direct. He was thrilled, because this time he could shape the story from the very beginning. The screenplay was a true team effort. Chris McKenna and Eric Summers, who've worked on other Marvel gems like Spider-Man films, Andrew Barrer and Gabriel Ferrari, plus Paul Rudd himself jumped in to add that authentic humor and heart. They wanted to make sure Hope Van Dyne, the Wasp, felt like an equal partner, not just a sidekick. In fact, there was even talk early on of calling it Wasp and the Ant-Man, but they stuck with the current title to keep that fan-favorite branding. Casting was spot on and full of dream picks. Peyton Reed has said Michelle Pfeiffer was his dream casting for Janet Van Dyne from the first film. She brings such elegance and mystery. Laurence Fishburne as Bill Foster added that perfect mentor-rival energy, and Hannah John Kamen as Ava Starr, aka Ghost, gave us a villain who's complex and sympathetic rather than cartoonish evil. The supporting players shine too. Michael Peña's Luis with his legendary fast-talking monologues, Tip T.I.C. Harris and David Dasmalkian as the lovable crew, Randall Park as the awkward but earnest FBI agent Jimmy Woo, and little Abby Ryder Fortson stealing scenes as Scott's daughter Cassie. Even Stan Lee pops in for his signature cameo, always a treat. Filming started on August 1st, 2017, under the sneaky working title Cherry Blue to keep spoilers at bay. They shot primarily at Pinewood Atlanta Studios in Fayette County, Georgia, building massive practical sets like the Quantum Tunnel Lab, inspired by old sci-fi shows like The Time Tunnel, which was one of the largest physical sets in MCU history. Then they headed to San Francisco in September for those iconic street chases on hilly roads like Lombard Street, making the city a character in its own right. Savannah, Georgia, and even Hawaii got some action too. Principal photography wrapped on November 19, 2017, though there were reshoots in March 2018. Fun note, Hurricane Irma briefly halted production in September 2017, but the team bounced back like true pros. The visual effects? Mind-blowing. Over 1,600 shots, handled by a powerhouse lineup including DNA, who did the bulk, including ghosts, phasing, and major fights. Scanline VFX, Method Studios, Luma Pictures, Lola VFX for de-aging, and more. They used macro photography tricks, Arri Alexa 65 cameras, and even Fraser lenses to make the tiny world feel real. De-aging tech brought younger versions of Michael Douglas, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Laurence Fishburne to life. Pfeiffer's look drew from her 1980s roles, Douglas from Wall Street, and Fishburne from Boys in the Hood. The quantum realm sequences are pure visual poetry, with wild colors, bizarre creatures, including real-life-inspired tardigrades, those indestructible microscopic water bears, and that sense of infinite possibility. Music plays a huge role in the vibe too. Christophe Beck returned to score, blending the fun Ant-Man theme from the first film with a new, high-energy Wasp motif. The soundtrack drops on July 6, 2018, and it perfectly captures the playful, adventurous tone. Licensed songs add extra retro flair. Marketing was massive. The first teaser hit in January 2018, using Ants Invasion by Adam and the Ants for that cheeky pun energy. A full trailer followed in April, plus a Super Bowl spot. Partnerships with Hyundai, featuring their 2019 Veloster, Dell, and more flooded the market with merch. The world premiere was June 25, 2018 at the El Capitan Theater in Hollywood, with wide release on July 6 in the US, available in IMAX, 3D, and premium formats. Now, the numbers tell a story of triumph. Budget estimates range from $130 million to $195 million, with most sources settling around $162 million, solid for the heavy CGI. It opened to $75.8 million domestically, including $11.5 million Thursday previews, beating the first film's opening by 33%. Worldwide, it raked in $622.7 million, $216.6 million domestic, and $406 million international. That made it the 11th highest-grossing film of 2018, with analysts estimating a net profit of around $100 million. Not bad for a smaller MCU entry. Critics loved the breath of fresh air. It holds an 87% on Rotten Tomatoes from hundreds of reviews, with the consensus calling it a lighter, brighter superhero movie powered by the effortless charisma of Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly. Metacritic gives it a 70 out of 100 and audiences gave it an A- cinema score. People praise the humor, the chemistry, the inventive action, and how it serves as the perfect palate cleanser after heavier films. And the trivia? Oh, there's gold here. Paul Rudd actually learned real close-up magic for scenes, though he jokes it was like cramming violin lessons in a rush. Evangeline Lilly trained hard in martial arts to make the Wasp's fights distinct and powerful. The ghost suit used practical LED lights on set for that phasing effect. They built practical sets instead of all green screen for the shrunken lab. There were cut scenes, like an alternate 1980s opening in Buenos Aires that got scrapped for pacing. The film nods to heist classics like After Hours and Midnight Run, and even includes tiny Easter eggs like tardigrades in the microscopic world. We're still rolling on this epic deep dive into Ant-Man and the Wasp from 2018, the film that proves sometimes the tiniest heroes deliver the biggest laughs and the most inventive thrills. If you've been with me so far, you know about the stellar cast, the clever direction by Peyton Reed, the massive production scale, and how this movie became a perfect lighthearted escape in the MCU. But let's keep going because there's even more to love. The incredible visual effects wizardry, those hidden Easter eggs that make fans geek out, some fascinating deleted scenes, and all the little behind-the-scenes stories that show just how much heart and creativity went into making this one feel so special. No spoilers here, just pure, exciting details to build that I need to watch this right now feeling. One of the biggest reasons this movie stands out is its groundbreaking visual effects, especially when it comes to the shrinking, growing, and that wild quantum realm. Over 1,600 VFX shots in total, handled by an army of top studios like DNA, who tackled more than 500 shots, including Ghost's phasing effects and that chaotic third-act chase. Method Studios, who designed the stunning new look for the quantum realm using real macro photography research to make it feel like you're diving into cellular-level wonder. Scanline VFX, Loma Pictures, Lola VFX for the flawless de-aging, Cinesite, who brought those massive trap-jaw ants to life with realistic walk cycles and interactions, and others like Industrial Light and Magic. They used techniques like high-speed macro photography to capture how light, dust, and particles behave at tiny scales, making the microscopic world feel tangible and immersive. The quantum realm itself is a psychedelic masterpiece. Think bizarre floating landscapes, auroras of color, and even real-life inspired creatures like tardigrades, those indestructible microscopic water bears that survive extreme conditions. It's not just flashy CGI, it's thoughtful design that makes you feel the wonder of quantum physics without getting too sci-fi heavy. De-aging tech was next level too. Michael Douglas, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Laurence Fishburne all got youthful makeovers for those 1980s flashbacks. Pfeiffer drew inspiration from her own roles, like Lady Hawk, Douglas from Wall Street, and Fishburne from Boys in the Hood. They even used Fishburne's real son, Langston, as a body double for the younger Bill Foster, then applied digital magic to match his dad's face. The result? Seamless time travel that adds emotional weight to the family story. And for the action, they built massive practical sets, like the PIM Lab and Quantum Tunnel, one of the largest in MCU history, instead of relying solely on green screen. That hybrid approach, practical plus digital, gives everything a grounded, real feel, even when characters are ant-sized or building-sized. Watching those size-shifting fights and chases is like seeing pure invention on screen, creative, fun, and endlessly rewatchable. Now let's talk Easter eggs and clever references because this movie is packed with them, paying homage to comics, other MCU films, and even pop culture without ever feeling forced. There's the Stan Lee cameo where he reacts hilariously to his car getting shrunk. Classic Stan. References to National Lampoon's Animal House pop up in a scene with particle physics talk. Luis's fast-talking stories nod back to the first film, but with fresh twists. Comic book nods include Ghost's powers, unique and not just a copy of the heroes, the Baba Yaga mention, a real Marvel character tied to other heroes, and subtle ties to the larger universe like the Sokovia Accords or house arrest from Civil War. Even the quantum realm has tiny details like maps of places on Earth, hinting at its infinite possibilities. And of course, those post-credits moments, they cleverly connect to bigger MCU events without stealing the spotlight from this story's intimate focus. It's the kind of layering that rewards multiple viewings and makes fans smile every time they spot something new. There are also some fascinating deleted scenes that give even more insight into what the filmmakers were thinking. The Blu-ray includes extras like alternate openings, more quantum realm moments with Janet explaining the vast worlds and civilizations down there, extended giant man sequences, and even a flashback where we see the original Wasp in action stopping a dangerous experiment. Some 1980s sequences got cut for pacing, but they added depth to Hank and Janet's history. There was even a mysterious new inhabitant in the quantum realm that teased more exploration. These extras show how the film evolved to stay tight at under 2 hours while keeping that perfect balance of humor, heart, and action. The gag reels are gold too. Lots of flubbed lines, improvised laughs, and the cast having a blast. Behind the scenes, the dedication shines through. Peyton Reed had full creative freedom after the first film's success, and he treated Hope as a true co-lead. Evangeline Lilly trained intensely in martial arts for her distinct, powerful fighting style. Paul Rudd really learned close-up magic tricks for authenticity, though he admits he didn't keep practicing. The production dealt with Hurricane Irma shutting things down briefly, but the team powered through. Michelle Pfeiffer prepared by studying real wasps, and the whole cast brought such chemistry that improv lines often made the cut. Even the soundtrack by Christopher Beck mixes the returning Ant-Man theme with a fresh, confident wasp motif that feels empowering. Licensed songs like Ants Invasion by Adam and the ants in the trailer add that playful pun energy. Marketing was huge. Trailers dropped with massive buzz, a Super Bowl spot, partnerships with Hyundai, that 2019 Veloster gets a starring role in the chases, and even a Disneyland attraction called Nano Battle, inspired by the film. It all built excitement for a movie that critics called a lighter, brighter superhero movie with an 87% on Rotten Tomatoes. Audiences gave it an A- cinema score, loving the charisma, laughs, and how it felt like the perfect breather. So why keep coming back to Ant-Man and the Wasp? It's the ultimate feel-good MCU adventure. Family-focused, hilarious, visually stunning, and full of heart. The themes of redemption, partnership, and finding hope in the smallest places hit just right. In a franchise full of epic battles, this one reminds us that joy, creativity, and a good laugh can be super heroic too. Whether you're watching for the first time or the 10th, it never gets old. Now, let's start with the soundtrack, because the music in this movie is like the perfect wingman. It amps up the excitement, adds emotional depth, and keeps that playful vibe alive. Christoph Beck, who scored the first Ant-Man, came back and nailed it once more. He kept the iconic Ant-Man theme from the original, but layered in a brand new, high-energy motif for the Wasp, something confident, sharp, and empowering that perfectly matches Hope's strength and grace. The score blends orchestral swells with electronic pulses, making those shrinking and growing moments feel epic without overwhelming the comedy. And the licensed songs? They're spot-on retro fun. Think tracks like Ants Invasion by Adam and the Ants, which they cleverly riffed on for the trailer. I'm a Man by Black Strobe for high-octane energy. It Takes Two by Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock for those buddy moments. And even quirky picks like Morrissey's Every Day is Like Sunday as Scott's ringtone or Dusty Springfield's Spooky during a tense van scene. Every song choice feels intentional, adding layers of humor and nostalgia that make the whole experience even more rewatchable. Marketing for this film was a masterclass in building hype without giving anything away. Marvel dropped the first teaser trailer on January 30th, 2018, right on Good Morning America, and it exploded with that cheeky Ants Invasion track. Fans went wild over the puns and the promise of Wasp action. A second full trailer hit in May, timed perfectly after the emotional punch of Avengers Infinity War, positioning this as the fun, feel-good follow-up everyone needed. They even had a Super Bowl spot to keep the momentum going. Partnerships were everywhere. Hyundai got massive exposure with the 2019 Veloster, starring in those wild San Francisco chases. It's practically a character itself. Dell and other brands jumped in for tie-ins, and merchandise flooded stores with suits, toys, and comics. The world premiere on June 25, 2018 at the El Capitan Theater in Hollywood was a star-studded event, with Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, Michael Douglas, Michelle Pfeiffer, Laurence Fishburne, and more walking the red carpet, all beaming with excitement. They pushed it hard in IMAX and 3D for those immersive quantum realm sequences, and it even inspired a ride at Hong Kong Disneyland called Ant-Man and the Wasp, Nano Battle. That opened later with new footage of the cast. All that effort paid off. This was the movie people flocked to for a laugh after heavier MCU entries. When the film hit home video in October 2018, digital on the 2nd, Blu-ray/DVD on the 16th, the extras were a treasure trove for fans. The Blu-ray includes behind-the-scenes featurettes, an introduction from director Peyton Reed, audio commentary by Reed himself, full of insights on how they balanced comedy and action, and a gag reel packed with outtakes. Think Paul Rudd cracking up mid-magic trick, Evangeline Lilly nailing fight moves, and the whole cast losing it over improvised lines. Deleted scenes are gold too. There's Worlds Upon Worlds, where Janet shares more about the vast, mysterious civilizations in the quantum realm, adding so much wonder without overloading the main film. An alternate opening sequence set in South America that got reworked after test screenings, extended Giant Man moments, more Luis storytelling hilarity, and scenes with Sonny Birch on the trail. There's also a fun bit with the translator in the quantum realm that builds out the subatomic world building.